Hi, and welcome to the Swan Effect Mums Coffee and Chat podcast. My second guest is Louise. So Louise is going to be talking about her current IVF pregnancy journey so far. Hi Louise, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Not too bad. Thank you ever so much. And like I said, I hope I'm not sounding too nervous. It's been such a long time since I've recorded anything. So where do you live and who do you live with?
So we live with me and my husband Rob and our dog Theo, and soon to be Bobber as well. We live in Essex.
Tell me a little bit about your IVF journey. At what point did you both decide that you may have needed help in the process?
Okay, so I'm 36 now. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovaries at 16. So I always knew in my back of my mind that it would be a possibility that I would need help somewhere along the line. We got married in 2014 and really started trying ever since then. We had 3 losses in that time. And I think from the losses, we just knew we kept trying, and then the losses stopped and nothing else happened. But I kind of came to sort of an acceptance of it will happen if it happens. And it wasn't really till 2020 and started having the lockdowns that we just started to think. Rob was turning 40 last year. This is our last time, like our last hurrah. Yeah. And my niece, who's a midwife, recommended me to a clinic for IVF that she'd heard of. And it went from there, and it went really quickly. So Christmas Day 2020, I said to Rob, what do you want for your 40th birthday next year? And his answer was a baby. And it really sort of took me back. Yeah, it was a lovely comment. Oh, but it was one of them comments I wasn't expecting. I was thinking like tattoo, new trainers, and hot. They actually end up with a hot tub, but hot tub, whatever he wanted. But yeah, when he said a baby, I was like, okay, well, let's do it then. So
did you feel pressure then, though, Louise? Did you feel like, oh God, this is it, I've really got to go through the mill now? No, you're excited.
Yeah, I think I was like, both of us were still thinking it in our heads, but we didn't want to say it in case it upset the other one.
Yeah.
So we were both like, we want a baby, but if the other one's not ready to try again, then we're going to be, we don't want to put them in that position. So both of us kind of had our tongues tied for no reason.
Yeah.
So when he said it, I was like, right, all go. So that was Christmas Day, and our first consultation was the 2nd of January. And we just went straight in. There was no, I think because we knew his 40th was coming up, we were kind of like, we've got to do this now or never.
Yeah.
Because he never wanted to be any older. His son is 18, so we didn't want, 18 next month. We didn't want a bigger gap than that. That was quite a big gap anyway. And when you're younger, and when we first got married, he was 9. We thought, oh, it's great, they're going to grow up together, and he'll be, slightly older, but there's difference in age now. It's fast. He's probably old enough to be a dad himself.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't an easy option, as in an easy decision, not an option. But I think it just came out of the blue, and it was kind of like after a year of lockdowns and the way that 2020 affected everyone, it was just kind of pushed us in to go for it.
Yeah, you only live once mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think you just realise, okay, we've got to go for it. Why are we sitting here and not trying when we could just, we never thought it would definitely work. We just kind of thought, if we don't try, we'll never know.
Yeah, and there's always regret then, isn't there? Regret that you may not have tried.
Yeah, and I think as well, when you do try, when you go for it, it opens you up to so many different options. IVF is quite a big, vast thing anyway. And when you're going into it sort of blind-eyed, you realise how many different options there are for you, that you're not just going to be given the same as everyone else.
Oh, right, okay.
So that was quite a good part of it, really, because we just, like I say, we just jumped straight in. Yeah, and a week later, let's meet the consultant, and we did. We just
and then your head steady. Yeah. So you're a stepmom, as am I. However, I didn't realise until 2 years ago that stepmothers are not eligible for IVF treatment through the NHS, as their partners already have a biological child. This was something that scares me a little bit, if I'm being honest, because my partner had 2 children, grown-up children, well, teenagers. Is this something that you knew before you began looking into IVF, or was it something you found out once you started inquiry? So when you went to that appointment and they gave you all those options, was that something discussed then?
Yeah, so we knew already. I think it's been quite publicly in the news, like around 2019, there was quite a lot of sort of talk about it. And then I know that I think it's actually how we connected was through a fellow stepmom who campaigned for it to be something that they now allow. It's actually a postcode lottery. It's not entirely over the UK. It's where you live depends on whether you would qualify or not.
What? Why is
So
that?
yeah, and I don't know why. Whether it's because some areas have a higher application.
Maybe.
So for instance, we never went down the NHS route, and we probably wouldn't have done, even if I wasn't a stepmom, purely because there's a 2-year waiting list, and it's a waiting list that you may not get accepted on. So it's quite, going down the NHS route is quite lucky if you get it, you know, and that 2-year waiting list is local, maybe 5 months, 6 months up somewhere else up north or somewhere that's a quieter area. But being in Essex and being quite overpopulated anyway, I think that's why the rules applied to us. So yeah, I did know about it, and I find it highly disappointing. For instance, like I say, Rob has got an 18-year-old, but in 18 years, your body can change, your fertility levels can change. And I didn't have any process of that child. I wasn't involved in the process of that child. And yet I don't get to have the help that others do purely because my husband had already had a child before me.
Because you fell in love with someone who had already had a child.
Yeah, so you do feel punished for that. I think there should be an equal. Okay, I do feel there should be a limit on the NHS of how many treatments you can get. Having gone through it privately, knowing the cost, I understand that. But I do think there should be an equal playing field. I think that, you know, if the infertility on my side especially, it doesn't matter if you'd had a kid before because it's me that has the issue. So that, to me, I find it's very unfair, and I'm hoping that the more the campaign goes on, we do get a better outcome of that in the future.
So, next question on my list. How did your stepson react to the news of his new brother/sister? Has he been aware of your IVF journey, and if so, been supportive or apprehensive about the changes in the family dynamics?
Okay, so when we made the choice to go down IVF, we made the choice that a select few people would know that were close to us. Obviously, I have my Instagram page, but my entire close family are blocked from that. And we wanted to keep it away from him. I didn't want it to affect him in any way if it went wrong.
Yeah.
We never told him of our losses. And actually, at a party once, someone mentioned, we were just chatting about one of the losses, and he overheard, and it really affected him. And he was only about 13 there. And
they don't like feeling left out, do they? They don't like feeling they're not included.
But also he was gutted, you know. He was like, oh, you've lost a baby, and he was worried. He was worried about me. He was worried about us. And I think that was a lesson learned. Like, okay, I don't want to involve him in case we go down and it fails, and it affects, you know, it takes the effect on someone else as well. Being that he was 17 or 16 when we started, he's now 18 in a month. He's older age now anyway. So from a family dynamic, I don't think much will change because he's now at that age where he wants to be out with his friends. He's got his girlfriend, and he's had his childhood with us, and so he hasn't missed out on that. But I'm hoping he will still, even though he's older, he'll still want to be part of the process. And he's excited that he's having a brother and not a sister, I think. I definitely think it was the right decision for us. It took a lot of pressure off us. I mean, there was hard moments. So he lives 2.5 hours away, and when you're going through IVF, your injections are timed. So we were on the M11, and I would be sitting in the car injecting myself on the way. But it's all worthwhile. So, you know, you can't moan about it. But at the same time, it was very hard hiding it. You know, he'd be downstairs, we'd all be watching TV, and I'd have to run upstairs, and Rob would come up, do my injection, and run back down. So I think for him, it was more, we had to keep it away from him, as well as not just for him, but for our stress levels as well, just so we didn't have that pressure. We reduced our stress levels quite a lot by keeping family out until we got to the successful point, and then we let everyone know. And even then, it wasn't really everyone until the 12-week scan. So, yeah, he's happy about the pregnancy, but yeah, the IVF, we just chose, I think it's very different when it's a stepchild as well. You don't want them to feel like they're suddenly going to be out of the bubble. Yeah. So it was a real decision on that as well for us. Make sure that he knows he's always going to be part of it. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good decision, I think, in the end. Yeah. So for anyone thinking about starting their IVF journey, please can you give us a quick overview of what to expect, what's involved, and how long the process can take? Because I genuinely don't know myself, so it'd be really interesting to find out. Okay, so that is an open question. It's sort of an open answered question. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
So for us, we were unusual. We fell on the first cycle, but we did do a lot of prep. So from the consultant point of view, we just assumed it was me that was the problem. So it was actually, no, we're going to test you both. And we went through everything from sperm analysis test to, my diabetic sugars on the two of us, everything from a family history. So there was a lot of tests, and we went through antibody tests to make sure. So if you've got, one of you's got like a certain antibody and the other one hasn't, it's fine. But if you've both got it, that could end up in a miscarriage. So you both had to have blood tests for that. That takes at least a month because they're quite long processes, like the lab results are. So from the actual prep point of view, it can be different for everyone. Some people know when they're going into it exactly what the problem is. And for us, we didn't. So we literally took every test going. The costs were just like just going up all the time. But looking back at it, it was the best thing we did. We took 3 months of lifestyle changes. So that is including diet. Rob had a very different lifestyle change to me. Mine was purely just diet and exercise. His was very much like avoid hot showers, don't wear tight underwear.
What?
So, we were taking 11 supplements each day. And
is what they were telling you to do, or were you just looking online?
No, I read every book going, and he literally lived with me like an army sergeant. Like, thank God he was working from home, because he was like being whipped at the chase every day.
Oh, bless him.
And he
was having cold showers.
Well, he wanted to get his new hot tub, and I was like, no, not until we have the egg section. Once you've done your bit in the cup, you can do whatever you want. And I kept stressing to him, it's 3 months change for you. Yeah. If this is successful, the total time from start to finish for me will be 15 months.
Yeah.
So you can suck it up.
Yeah.
So
good on you.
And he had to have like spinach. He could choose spinach, asparagus, or broccoli with every meal. And it was, even if he had a takeaway, like, which one do you want of your greens? And he would have to have it every day for the iron. Because the sperm cycle is so much more sensitive than the eggs. We already have our eggs. We're already born with them. So our diet can make them stronger, make them better quality. But for men, every 90 days, their sperm is rejuvenated. And to do that, to get a bit personal now, they have to ejaculate every 2 to 3 days. Right. If they don't, the dead sperm just stays there. So that was another part of it. It was like on a timer, like, have you? If you haven't, because he won't come in near me during fertility treatment.
I'm not being funny. It doesn't sound like much of a hardship for him, though, that does it? Let's face it. Men are constantly playing anyway, aren't they?
Oh, he was fine with it. But it was, it was a lot that we didn't realise we'd had to take on. So in my, for me, talking to someone that's about to go into it, it's research everything, read every book, go on Instagram, look at other people going through this journey, read people's blogs that are going through the same journey, because it is so different for everyone that you need that prep. And actually my biggest advice is make sure if you're going in as a couple, so obviously single people do IVF as well, if you're going in as a couple, make sure you're the strongest you can be, because infertility can really tear you apart.
Louise? Do you mean mentally?
Yeah, and financially, if you're going privately, it's just never end. There's so many hidden costs that you don't hear about. You see the price of the IVF treatment. You then add on blood tests, medication. If you're successful, the medication goes on for 14 weeks, and it's not cheap. And so you have to be ready for that, and also communicate with one another, because it really can I've known it to tear couples apart through just following people online. And sometimes I know we spoke before the chat about sometimes male infertility can be really hard for the man to deal with, and they sort of take it more personally, when actually it can happen to anyone. So
how would you deal with that? How would you deal with, because I generally think, like I said before the recording, that I think that this is my opinion, I think women would take the news better if it was something that was wrong with their bodies. I'm not saying it'd be easy. I'm just saying I think they would take the news better. I think if it was me and my partner in that situation, we'd walk in that room and he would just automatically assume it would be something to do with my body, I think. unless it's the male pride maybe, or the way they've been brought up, and men are men and things. I think, but then if he found out, I think it'd crush him. I think it would. So how would you help the men? So how would you help? Do they get help when you're paying for this service? Are they offered sort of like, not counselling, because that sounds a bit dramatic, but
you do get one. Some places offer it quite a lot, and some places offer like one session, and it's just, again, getting that prep in. Sorry, I had to take my microphone
out. It's okay.
It's just kind of funny. So some of them I think just need the prep. If you can talk about male infertility, it's like, actually it's quite common. It can be to do with age, it can be to do with lifestyle, and again, sadly, it's just one of those things. 1 in 8 couples suffer with infertility, and a lot of the time it is male induced, and it can just be changed. The difference is with male infertility, it's a lot easier for them to help. Through the IVF process, it's a lot easier to correct male infertility, because of the fact that they take the sperms and they can insert them in the eggs. And if your problem is just male sperm is a bit lazy, doesn't make the journey, the IVF process does it for you. If your problem is the eggs, it's a lot harder to help. So although they may take it harder, it's a lot easier.
Every cloud, as they say.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
So don't take it personally if you do go through it and it is you that's the problem, because anyone can go through that.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So I think it's important to include the dads in my podcast. So I was going to go on when we started talking about it. How did your husband handle it all? I know the majority of the stress and worry lands on the mother at these times, but let's face it, they are going through the emotions, dealing with our outbursts, etc. How has it affected him? And do you talk to each other about your worries, excitement, etc.? Does he also have a support network around him?
Yeah, so this question, I'm really glad you asked this question, actually, because I think it's quite important. I think men don't talk. Rob definitely doesn't. He's not someone that talks about his feelings.
No.
He holds grief within him. So I hadn't really realised until we started this process, and actually until we fell pregnant, how much our previous losses had affected him. It wasn't until he never really sort of believed it was going to happen. He kind of just went in it for me. He was always just sort of, it's probably going to fail. It wasn't until we heard the first heartbeat that I just saw him kind of, a little bit of him break, but in a good way, sort of just like release.
Like his shoulders dropped slightly.
Those sort of, that release 6 years of stress and pain, actually. So yeah, he does talk about it now. I mean, he's extremely excited now. He can't wait for the journey to continue. But the start of it, he was brilliant. He listened. He knew what he had to do. He listened to the doctor's advice. He let me kind of just be the boss, which was easier for him. He'd get up in the morning, the tablets were there waiting for him.
You're just like I said, an army sergeant, straight in.
100%. Because I think as well, it's quite overwhelming. And the amount of things you have to change, from wearing tight underwear to not having hot baths to not wearing, I mean, he wasn't even allowed to wear skinny jeans and things like this because of the constraint, or don't have your hot laptop on your lap because it can kill sperm. These things men don't know.
I don't know, Louise. I didn't know that.
Yeah, sperm is very highly sensitive to heat. That's why you don't have hot, tight underwear. So we had to change all his pants. We had to get loose boxers. He was working from home, so he was able to wear like loose shorts around the house and stuff. It was summer, so it was much easier for him. But those sort of things we didn't know. It was all from reading up and finding it out. And a lot of people say about the tight underwear, but not so much the heat. So hot shower's fine, but sitting in a hot bath, say, is a no-go. And then, like I say, he got a hot tub for his 40th, and he couldn't actually get in it until his 40th birthday.
Oh, the poor guy.
And his 40th birthday was our egg section, so we were actually in hospital. So for his 40th birthday, he got to do his specimen in a cup.
What a lucky guy.
What a memorable birthday. But he did say, my 40th, I want a baby. So down to him it was, really.
Oh no, so has he got friends that he talks to, do you know?
He has, and family, and I think collectively our family have been there for each other. But we've always been a team. So if he wants to open up, he's always been able to do that with me, but he's also got friends and family that he could easily open up to. But like I say, he's very private anyway. So it's been sort of, when he needs something, I've been able to tell, kind of thing. But yeah, he is that typical man that wants to hold it all in, and I wish he would, and I wish he'd just let it all out. Touching on what we were saying about advice earlier, I missed a bit out, was be prepared to wait for everything, waiting for results, waiting for tests, waiting for meetings, waiting for appointments. It's never ending. You just feel like you're constantly waiting for the next bit.
Like you're ready to go, but and
you're like, I've got to go now. And it's like, and waiting for your period to come. And sometimes that can be a month, sometimes that can be a week. So things like that was I didn't know those parts of the process. So dealing with that emotionally, I turned to people online, strangers who are now friends, rather than my close friends, because even though they want to be there for me and they would give me the love and support, they wouldn't comprehend what you're really going through.
I think, I always say you tell the hairdresser absolutely everything.
Yeah, you do.
Because they're a stranger, they're not connected to your life, there's no emotional connection, and they listen to it, and you know what, they step out of that door and forget about it. Whereas your friends, you feel like your
friends carry you with them, don't they? They carry your emotional, and same for you. You carry, if someone hurt your friend, it hurts you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the difference. And I think that's why I found my safety blanket there. I found that I could talk to people. Some people I talk to at 12 o'clock at night because they're in America, and some people I talk to at 6 o'clock in the morning because they're up and they're around the corner. And it very much opened up, a lot of information for me that, yes, friends can give you support, but they can't maybe answer your questions or your worries. And actually, sometimes people that care about you can say the wrong things as well. So but not because they're doing it in any harm, just because they don't understand.
No,
so
they
I think
don't.
When you're going through something like this, and like you say, anything actually that's, different to, say, your friends' lifestyles, do try and find that support online, because social media, that is one of the benefits of it. That's one of the positives, is that it can open you up to a whole new world of people and support. And that goes for mental health problems as well. There's so many people online that share their stories and want to help each other.
I think it's lovely. I look at these videos sometimes and think, if I'd be brave enough to do something like that, but it does, and it does help people. That's why I'm glad we're doing this, because even if I don't have a huge following, but you never know, once it's out there forever and a day, and maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now, someone's going to listen to this, going through what you're going through, and it's going to help them. That sort of thing is why I do it.
That's enough for me.
Yeah, exactly. Right, we're going to have a quick break now, and then we'll be back for the second half, Louise. Thanks. Hi, and welcome back to the second half of the podcast episode. So the next question I wanted to ask you, Louise, was, I'm going to read it out. I'm always conscious of trying to say the right thing or doing the right thing in certain situations. What words of wisdom or advice were you given during that time that weren't appreciated or useful? And what advice would you give to others on how to approach, talk to, or be with someone who is going through the hard and emotional journey of IVF? What can we do or say to make things easier for others who are going through their IVF journeys? You were just saying before, loved ones say the wrong things sometimes or give the wrong advice. Not meaning to. And I said before recording, I've done it a few times with different people in my life, and you say it instantly afterwards and you regret it, but you don't apologise, because then it just really does emphasise the white elephant in the room. So you just ignore it and move on. So what can we do?
So the first thing I'd say is, I wish there was not a stigma of talking about infertility. I wish people it wasn't a taboo subject. I wish people could just be open with it, because I feel that if people were more open of what they need, actually people would be more sensitive when they're saying things. But it is a taboo subject, and it is something that a lot of people suffer from. For instance, in the past, I've had people where I've put a little bit of weight on, and I've had comments like, "Oh, have you got a secret to tell us?" That's not appropriate. That's never
appropriate. Ever.
That's never appropriate. Never assume someone's pregnant. If you don't know, you don't assume. We've had people, we've had constant, when's the family, when you're going to grow the family. And I think from a stepmom's point of view, that's quite hard for, my stepson to hear. If he hears that,
he's not enough.
Why is there got to be more? Why is there going to be more? there's me. And I think especially if there's stepchildren involved, never mention it in front of them because of the sensitivity. But from an IVF point of view, if someone opens up and tells you that they're going through this, that's a huge step. I think you'll find a lot of the girls that are on line that share their journey, it's a public page, but kept away from all, like same as me, kept away from family and friends.
Why is that then? Is it just because it's too raw at the moment or something? It might be something you want to talk about.
I think it's the pressure.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going into, you know, for us, you go, your first thing is all your tests. If you've got people knowing what you're going through, what was the results? What did you find out? What's this? What's that? Then when you see them, they talk about it. I never wanted to be put in a position where I'd be around a friend's house, or if actually my friends all knew it was just my family, around my family's house, and they'd be saying, oh, so what was that and what happened there, and talking about it when you don't actually know what the result is going to be.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah,
so I think it's the pressure, and one of the hardest things with infertility is stress causes infertility, so try and bring as much of that away from you as you can. So if someone opens up, that's a huge step. Do research. Do as much research as you can. I had friends that followed other IVF pages, learned the terminology, but also if you don't, like I said before, if you don't have experience going through this, you can't really come from an advice point of view. So don't try and give advice. First of all, never tell someone that's trying to have baby to just relax and it will happen, or just lose weight and it will happen. You know, I actually gained weight going into IVF and through IVF. And I've had people that went in dieting and really strict dieting, lost weight and miscarried. So weight is irrelevant. I'm at my biggest I've ever been, but at the moment I'm nearly 8 months pregnant.
Baby, so it's fine. Yeah,
I'm fine. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think don't come from an advice side. Look it up, understand the process, learn as much as you can about what they're going through, and then just ask them, how can I support you? What can I do for you to make this an easier process? You know, let them rant at you if they need to, but then come from just a caring side rather than, oh, well, I've heard of a friend that got pregnant because they did this, and that never helps. No. You know. No, and you don't want to know what your cousin's best mate's brother's dog did. We don't care about that. We just want to know what we can do. So, you know, not just IVF, even if it's adoption, surrogacy, egg donors, sperm donors, you know, it's a very personal and hard, you know, process for every single couple and individual. So just by saying, you know, what can I do for you? You know, when my friend said that to me, that was so much easier to deal with because there was no pressure of me thinking I've got to tell them everything as well. I told them what they needed to know through the process, and I would keep the bits that were hard behind. So I just think it's finding what's right for that person.
Yeah, I always think about counsellors. They never say anything. They just sit there, listen, and ask questions now and again. And I always think if someone comes to me now, like a friend, and they talk to me about something quite specific that I don't know about very well, I try and remember that. Don't say very much, let them talk. But people listening now will go, no, you don't, Liz, shut up, I'll listen to your podcast. But
I don't probably enough.
I can't do that. I need to ask questions. That's the whole point of this podcast, because people want to know. So I'm asking the questions that people who aren't going through it want to know. So now for the fun part, tell us how it feels to be pregnant. And how has the pregnancy been so far? What are you looking forward to the most? And I remember I've been following Louise since, I can't remember, since before you were pregnant. Anyway, you were going through this journey. And I said to her, I've never rooted for anyone so much in all my life. But I remember when you were in the first bit, you were poorly. And I was like, oh, bless you. You're like, it's fine. It's okay. I'm allowed to not like this, you know, that's fine, you know. And I thought, because you're a pregnant woman, and you know what? No sane woman would like having morning sickness. It's not nice.
No, and I think that's the thing, you know, but I really like this question because it really made me laugh. Like I sat and wrote some notes for myself, and I was like, when did the fun part start? Because this pregnancy has been tough. And I think from an IVF pregnancy as well, I never thought the pregnancy would be the tough bit. I thought the IVF would be the tough bit, but actually I'd whip myself through them injections again any day rather than the sickness. And now I've had 20 to
with you being an IVF mum, do you think I'm going to see that line and you're going to be so happy that nothing's going to get you down. Like, this is everything you wanted, and it's going to be amazing. Because when you're pregnant, your body goes through a ridiculous amount of hormones changes. You're just poorly, you're tired, you go through it all. So you must have been like, oh God, you're joking.
I think, it was like, oh my God, more suffering, great, okay. And it was, and I really like the sentence of, a lot of people said to me, you can be happy you're pregnant, but not love your pregnancy. And
exactly.
It's such a key point, Yes, I'm lucky, and I am super lucky. We fell pregnant on our first cycle. However, I will point in as well, we did PGS testing, which is testing the chromosomes to see if they're abnormal or normal. And out of 18, we had 10 tested out of the 18 embryos we had. 2 were normal out of the 10 that we tested, and then another 8 have been untested. If we hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have been successful. So, because our strongest embryo actually would have miscarried. So it's very interesting from that point of view. So it's been fun, as in we've had so many scans. Oh my God, just constant scans through the IVF. You do get more in when you're in IVF pregnancy, but that's through the clinic. Then going to the NHS, then we wanted some private ones ourselves because, we're greedy and we wanted to see the baby as much as possible. And that's been the fun part. But started with morning sickness constant. And I've been living on Gaviscon for 20 weeks. The heartburn has been horrific.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think anyone realizes what heartburn is like unless they actually go through it. I must have bought about 40 bottles of Gaviscon. No joke.
I just live with it. I was buying the small bottles. I was like, what's the point?
Yeah,
now I've got these big pints next to the bed. So that's not the fun part. But, the movements, I can't explain the feeling. I will miss it so much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's just that comfort, the constant comfort that they're with you. And it's something that only you will experience. It's a really special part because your husband's never going to feel that. Even if you explain it, you can never really explain that feeling to anyone. It's just amazing. And like even talking about a big smile across my face. But the fun part, I'm hoping that'll be when he's born and he's here, because I don't know. I don't know what the fun part of pregnancy is.
I don't know. I always say that for me, that line, when you see that line, you go, yes, I'm pregnant. And you're really excited. And then, especially my second pregnancy, that was rough. And I was like, oh, that's short-lived. It was so short-lived. And I was
it really
scans, appointments, sickly, everything, you name it. Obviously during lockdowns, I was on my own a lot. And then you give birth and, they're crying and they're healthy and you go, yes, I've got a baby. And then you take them home and or if you have cesarean, you go, oh, your painkillers wear off and you feel the pain. It is, I don't know I can't explain to you, but there'll be a certain point, whether they're 1 day old, a week old, a month old, and it's all quiet, it's peaceful. Your husband's gone back to work, it's just you and your baby, and there's nothing exciting's happening, but you'll see a little turn of the mouth or something, and that is when you go.
Yeah, I think it is those little moments, emotional. Like I say, with the movement, same thing. Yeah. You're having a really down day. I mean, I've had quite a lot of depression through it, purely because of just being alone. Like my hubby changed careers while we were going through IVF. So we've had quite a whip around of our life in the last year. And he was working from home and then he wasn't working from home. Yeah. And I was going through those sort of sick days and those really hard days. And I was like on my own. And because of COVID, I hadn't got people I could go out and see. And there was lockdowns. And so that it became a very lonely place. And pregnancy can feel really lonely. So once the movements start, you actually realize, I'm not alone. I've got my baby with me. Yeah. And that's a lovely, lovely feeling. So yeah, I think it's been a really good time, but a very anxious time. I mean, I had injections till I was 14 weeks.
What's that for then? Why is that? I think I asked you this by message.
Yeah. So from with my levels, my progesterone was low. So when they did the transfer, so I had my transfer 3 months after my egg collection because we had the testing done. And literally the day after, like the week after and the day after, you go for blood tests. You're in and out having blood tests the whole time. And they noticed my progesterone was low. So I then had to have an extra 2 injections. I was already having 1, but I had to have 3. And one of them is in the bum, which is horrible. It's the biggest, thickest needle. It doesn't go in easily. It's thick oil that goes in, so it takes a long time to put it in.
Louise isn't putting you off, ladies. She's just saying, be prepared. It is worth it.
I tell you what, you get used to it. And not only that, Yeah, and you know what? I had a fear of needles. Well, I've got tattoos, but a fear of like medical needles. I don't anymore.
You haven't anymore.
I don't care anymore. But you do what you've got to do. I think if people say, if you do this, this will help you keep the pregnancy, you just do it. You just go, okay, yep, send me more, send as many as you need my way. On top of that, you have, I'm going to go a bit more grotesque, you have vaginal gels that go up. You have tablets that go up. You take 2 oral tablets as well. So it's a very, and that's not everyone. That was just me. I was going to say,
that's not, so in my head, and I'm asking, this is someone now who is completely clueless, so I'm just asking a question. I in my head, when you said 4 different options, I thought if you wanted IVF, you go in, you get the IVF treatment, and then you get pregnant, and they go, there you go, great. We'll do a checkup just to make sure everything's okay. But that's it. Is that the case for some people, or is it always so intense?
I mean, you never just get pregnant and you're left. You will always do medication till your first trimester, because they want to help keep the pregnancy. So that is helping your placenta. So a placenta that's fallen pregnant naturally will have already prepped itself and done all those things. And if you're someone like me that was low in certain hormones, you need that placenta to be kept alive, basically, kept going. And once you get to the 12 weeks or the 14 weeks, end of first trimester, the placenta takes over.
Right.
And that's when you stop your medication. So you kind of wean off it. Some stop at 10, next one stops at 12, and the next one stops at 14. So you kind of weaned off these hormones. But that obviously added a hell of a lot of extra hormones, sickness, tiredness, probably caused a little bit of the depression as well, because you're having the normal pregnancy hormones and then a load of artificial hormones. So I had estrogen and progesterone as well. And now I'm just taking 2 tablets a day, which is my supplements. It's bliss.
I bet.
Just have to remember them.
So you're all prepared and everything now then?
100%, yeah, ready to go.
Are you ready for the sleepless nights?
I already have them. I mean, I think I've decided my body's preparing me through the pregnancy. I'm up most nights with the heartburn anyway.
Yeah.
And I have a very strong snoring husband, so I'm kind of prepared for that as well. I don't think he's prepared for it, but I am.
So, as a first-time mum, expectant mums have regular midwife appointments. We've just talked about this. So, as an IVF mum, does that mean more checkups and appointments? Are there more complications due to the IVF element of the pregnancies, etc.? So, first-time mums always get seen quite a bit anyway. Yeah. And then my second time, I didn't realise you didn't. So, you kind of left to it a bit more. Do you... what I mean is, if you're an IVF mum, does that mean, like you were saying, you need to be seen to a certain point and have the injections, but you're only on supplements now? Are you still being seen until the baby's born? Or... Yeah.
So IVF is classed as high risk, but it's only one element of high risk. So for me, I'm over 35, I'm IVF, and my BMI is over 20, whatever it's 30, I think it's now. So because of that, I've got 3 high risks. So I am a high risk pregnancy. Only last week I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes, but borderline. But that's quite common with PCOS, so I kind of expected that to come. Right. So personally, I'm very high risk. So I do have growth scans and I have extra consultant appointments. I literally might as well hire a parking space at the hospital because I'm there more than I'm at home. But for IVF, so when you're with a clinic, you will be signed off of your clinic pretty much around 12 weeks. So you will get a 6-week or a 9-week scan with them before you get your NHS scan. So it's amazing, really. My first scan, the baby is a dot. It's literally a spot in the corner.
I think I've never seen it. Didn't you share that?
Yeah. And I've got the whole process from, that's quite special, really, from an IVF point of view, from an embryo to now at 30 weeks this week. I've got every scan. So that's really nice part of it. But yeah, you will get seen to, just if that's your only risk, then the only thing they do suggest is that you're induced around 39 or 40 weeks. They won't let you go over. I don't know really why. It's something to do with the placentas through IVF just doesn't not last as long, but it gets weaker near the end. So they don't want to risk the baby, so they will induce you.
But that's not too bad, 39, 40, that's what you're near enough there anyway.
I kind of wanted to be early, so I don't mind.
Everyone wants it.
But now with the diabetes and everything else, I'm obviously a lot more monitored. IVF babies can tend to be a bit bigger, again, because of the placenta issues. But there isn't a lot of high risks with it. you know, there's no risk really to the baby. Obviously, the only big risk is there's a big risk if you have multiple pregnancies. And that's if you choose to put more than one embryo in. You know, Rob really wanted to. I was like, twins? And no. And then I said, what if both of those actually are twins? And then we've got 4.
Ooh.
And that really freaked me out. I was like, no, let's just risk one. I wouldn't have been able to push 4 out. So that's really the main risk. The risks are more through the actual course of treatment in the IVF than it is through the pregnancy. My midwife, they just say, oh, you're IVF, okay, that's fine, and that's it. They don't ask me about it.
Yeah,
no,
great.
You know, they're quite used to seeing it. So yeah, that's something not to worry too much about, as in it won't risk your pregnancy much more or anything like that.
Fantastic, that's good to know. So as I mentioned, we got to know each other through Instagram. We got through the stepmom community. Why did you decide to document your IVF journey on social media? And do you have a public or private account? So you've said you've got a public, but it's private in the sense that you kind of don't have your close family being able to see it, which is fine. But what made you document that rather than, I don't know, write in a diary? You know, what made you want to do it that way?
The support network. Yeah. I think I was following so many other people's journeys, and I blog anyway. I'm a photographer. I'm used to being behind the camera and in front of it. So before I fell pregnant, I used to do plus size blogging. So I'm quite confident with being in front of the camera, and minus today. Like I said to you,
we're not even going there
when I'm pregnant, not so much. But yeah, and I wanted to open up to a new, you know, to a support network. And now what's lovely is I was turning to pages when I joined it. So I would be, when I started up my page, I was just purely using it to contact other people, ask questions, understand the process. And now I'm getting them questions and I help people through the process. And I kind of never want that to end. I kind of feel like I know that my calling in the future is to go and help people in this situation somehow.
Blogging, I tell you what, blogging is out there. And if you've got time for it, you can really help.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the fact that Instagram is so instant. You can be talking to someone on the other side of the world and you could help that person, or they could help you and change something in your life. And I think, you know, if you use it the right way, social media can be amazing.
I remember reading one of your posts, and it was, you were pregnant, early days, and it was lovely. I remember thinking, God, you know, I wouldn't have even have thought about that. And it was very selfless of you, really, because you said, you know, I'm excited, I'm pregnant, I've been really lucky, and, you know, but if you're following me and you're struggling, or you haven't got a success story yourself, then please, you know, I won't be offended. Don't follow me, because, you know, it's a trigger. And I was just like, oh God, that's so nice of you to have said that, because I would have thought you would have gone, woohoo, look at me, you know.
Yeah.
And
you are,
you reined it in, and gone,
you are.
But it just shows how you've been on there for a while, because you've seen other people's stories, so you know to empathize a bit and go, okay, this is just my story. There's other people that are here that have got different stories. Yeah.
And I think it goes for anyone that's struggling. Now I've got friends that had babies, or I had one friend that had a baby due the same day that the first one we lost was due. And the hardest situation I've ever had to face was going to see her in hospital. But I was determined that I was going to support her, and I was going to be there. And I held the baby when she had her first injections and all these things. And inside, I was dying. Inside, I went home and I sobbed constantly for a good hour. But I needed to do that. I needed to be there for her.
So you don't regret doing that then?
No, not at all. And, you know, I missed out on baby showers because they were too hard. And one of the biggest triggers that you see online is scans. And so when I knew that I would be sharing those sort of things, I wanted my followers to know that if that's too hard for you to see, please don't feel you have to stay here to watch that, because it can be quite hurtful and harmful for your own journey. So, yeah, that was quite important to me, is that if people need, and if people got questions, just to ask them. People on Instagram, if they're sharing their journey, then they're open. So ask them anything.
They're not shy. They'll tell you what you want. Yeah, exactly.
All the gruesome stuff, we don't care.
I think, there should be more people putting their lives, not their life stories, but if they want to, out there, because it is helping. Like I said, that's the one good thing about social media. There's a lot of bad things.
It helps other people and yourself. You know, sharing your own journey helps you understand it sometimes. Yeah, definitely.
So isn't the last question. Well, it's the last question. So because the next one after that's a recommendation. So Finally, what advice would you give to any men or women listening that are considering going down the IVF route? Firstly, if they are in your position and there is already a biological child from a previous relationship. And secondly, if there are no other biological children involved.
Yeah. So biggest advice first is, like I say, make sure you're strong as a couple.
Yeah.
Make sure you know where you're going together. You know, if one of you's all for it and the other one's not, don't go for it. It's so you have to be so both together the whole time.
Do you think you could persuade the other person to get on board? Or do you think that's just...
Probably. I mean, like I say, Rob wanted it, but I don't think he realised how much it entailed until he'd started it. So he was kind of in it by the time he realised.
Yeah, it's too late. Can't make changes. Yeah, can't back
out. I'm like, no, we've had all these blood tests. We're carrying on. But also timing. So timing for us, COVID was it's been awful and it has been a hell for a lot of people, but personally and quite selfishly, I could say the last 2 years have been amazing for us. We've moved into a new house. Rob's had a new career. It actually gave us time. That's the only thing I can say is all that time at home gave us time that if we just carried on living our stressful lives, we would never have had. So timing is key because you have to give up so much of your time for appointment, back and forth. You need to be in it together. So if you have got a young child, is that going to be logical that you could have them going to school, or you can have people that are going to be able to babysit while you're off to having blood tests every other day? God. You know, for 2 weeks I was in London every other day, which is an hour and a half journey. Rob working at home for me, his work were really good and they let him do that. But yeah, timing's key, because if you've got a young child in the family, that's very different. And now obviously they're all back at school and not home, so how can you juggle those things? So it's a very big commitment. So just making sure that timing's right, financial pressure is going to be okay. Like I say, there's a lot of hidden costs, like what you initially go in with, maybe double it of what you think it might impact you on. And just do your research together. I mean, if the difference for us with the stepchild thing is that he's 18 now, like turned 18 now, it's very different than if he'd been a young child and had to be around his mum being injected, or going up, you know, mum and dad being out the door every 5 minutes to go to have tests. And it's very hard, I think, if you've got a kid with you constantly to actually hide it. It was a lot easier when, you know, with my stepson being in with us at only a weekend, I could hide it a lot easier than if it was every single day. So it's just knowing if it's going to fit into you and just making sure that it's right for you, because like I say, it can be very testing on your relationship if it's not right for one of you in some form. And that could be down the line. It could be
from the get-go, because that's a long, you know, I'm just talking about the NHS and thinking back to it, 2 years waiting. So you've already spent probably a few years trying before you've realised this isn't I think we need help. So then you go through that process. So that must take months and months and months. And then when they say, okay, you're eligible, then you've got another 2 years waiting.
Yep.
I think
go on.
So I was just going to say, I think the woman, I'll do anything. I'll wait 2 years, fine, whatever you say. But the men would be like, do we, you know, it's a long time. And also you're talking about, the lottery. Well, what? If you're a 22-year-old and it's taking you a while, a few years, you think, oh, well, I've still got the age on my side. I'm sure that most people are like yourself, who are in their 30s and thinking, I need to do something now because I'm getting time's ticking on. So then you've got 2 years on top of that. Oof,
I think that's why I think if you're young and you can freeze eggs, it's an amazing thing. I don't necessarily think you should get that choice on the NHS, which I think one of the Geordie Shore girls said that you should, and I thought, no, you shouldn't really, because it's your choice. But if you can freeze eggs when you're younger and you're healthier, it will, because you could have a baby into your 50s, as long it's just the eggs that stop being produced. Your womb's still there, the ability to have a baby is still there. So that doesn't ever change. It's just the fact of the egg production changes. One thing I didn't say in the NHS is that you have to have had 3 miscarriages to qualify at the moment. So that's a huge.
Is that for everybody, or is that a lottery again?
Yeah, that locally to us, but I think that's I won't quote you on it, but I think it's a generic thing, is that you at the moment you have to be improved to have had 3 losses. So to go through that, 3 losses is a lot to go through. I mean, 1 loss, your body takes so long to adjust back to it. And I'm sure most people that have had pregnancies know how long it takes for your body to get back to pre-pregnancy, hormone-wise. So to go through 3 losses emotionally together then to go into IVF, which is literally a lottery. There is no guarantee. You can look at, we went for a clinic that had the highest rate in the UK for my age. And then luckily it's worked for us, but you could still go to the best clinic, the best doctor, have the best treatment. And for just some unknown reason, it might not work.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to be prepared. I'm spending all this money, but it is a gamble. There's no guarantee. Some places
you don't get your money back, basically.
Yeah, there are clinics abroad. There's clinics in Spain and I think Portugal and Czech Republic. They all have these things. You can do 3 rounds, and if you don't fall pregnant, you get your money back.
Wow.
But the cost is ridiculous. So if you do fall pregnant the first time, you've paid for 3 times basically.
So your kid's going to be living on rice and beans for the rest of its life.
You'll be breastfeeding until they're 10. It's fine. That's free. But I think that's the difference. People don't realise when they're going into it together the toll it can take on you. So I'm exceptionally lucky, not just that it worked, but that we are such a solid unit that we could push ourselves through it. He doesn't really pay any attention to the Instagram page. He doesn't involve in all of that bit, but he knew it helped me, so it was a good thing. I'm really grateful for the fact that I've been able to just be myself on it. And I think when you use family and friends, you protect them a little bit as well, because like we said before, they can carry your emotional baggage with them. Whereas if you tell someone that's abroad or sitting in another county to you, yes, they'll be supportive, but they're not going to spend probably not going to spend all day thinking, oh my God, what's going on? She has Rob onto her, da-da-da-da. So I think that makes a big difference, that you don't have to shield people from, you can be as raw as you want online.
And they take in.
So I think that's what, again, for the men, go on there, look, if you want to be a silent follower to, other IVF pages or, birth doulas and people that can just give you a bit more information. No one's watching you do it. No one knows you're in that room looking at it. Just have a look, have a read and try and understand what your partner's going through, because that's why Rob did the injection. Having the men literally have to do their little bit and they're done. And I wanted him involved, and him doing the injections, he was part of that process, and he was so gentle, he was amazing with it, and he really looked after me. But he saw the pain that I was going through at certain points. The bruising is really bad, but
I've been shaking my head throughout this whole podcast. I'm just shaking my head the whole time. Oh my God.
But he stepped up to it, and like I say, all these things, they're not me telling people, oh my God, it's awful, because like I say, at times there's really magical moments, but you just do what you got to do. You just get on with it.
You do what you need to do, because you know what the end goal is, and that is your little boy who's going to be due. When is he due?
20th of March. So we've only got sort of 9 weeks, I think.
Oh my God.
Now the panic is setting. Now I'm thinking about the birth, and I haven't thought about that at all. I've not thought about birth plan, nothing, and I'm like, oh, it's coming in 9 weeks. Maybe I should prep a bit. One thing I would like to just add at the end is that I wish women could tell people in that first 12 weeks. So that to me, that 12-week wait is so hard. That's the loneliest part of the pregnancy for me, was that 12 week, was not being able to share the news with people that I care about, because I was worried about it going wrong. But actually, you shouldn't feel like you should be worried about it if it goes wrong. Surely you want them people to be there for you anyway. So I feel like there should be like that. Don't tell people you're going for your driving test in case you fail. It's kind of preparing yourself to fail. And that for me, with the 12 weeks, when I got to the end of the 12 weeks, I was like, wish I'd told more people. I wish I'd been more open. Obviously, I had all my Instagram followers, but those people that have wanted it for me just as much as I have, holding it from them, I think that is again, another taboo thing that hopefully in years to come, people won't feel that they have to hide it. They just say, we've fallen pregnant, and then people don't pester, we've fallen pregnant. Okay, then, well, let us know how, if you need us, kind of thing. But and having the support of mums with experience of that, going for that 12 weeks, is a very lonely time.
We don't get the scans early or anything like that. You don't get the feel, as you get on and later on, you can feel them kicking, moving, and that's reassurance. You have no reassurance from 4 weeks to 12 weeks. And I think it's just a taboo subject. And I spoke to Jem, who was pregnant after miscarriages, and she said, you're just so scared of telling people, because if it goes wrong, that means there's more people you've got to tell that's gone wrong, and it's hard enough accepting it yourself, then having to relate to everyone. So I don't know how you could get past that.
I think it's
like said,
not having that fear. You know, like for me, you know, there shouldn't be that fear of having, you know, oh God, I've got to tell people I've had a loss. Like miscarriages, that is such a taboo subject. People hold it in, and it is a personal thing, but there's such a big support network out there. And you do realize that so many people have gone through it once you start talking about it. So you get that support. That the first loss was, I had my niece who's my midwife. I was a midwife. She came to the scan with us, and we saw 2 magpies outside the scan centre. So I was like, that's good news. That's good news. And 2 for joy. And I was all happy. And I bounced into that room. And then the words, no, there's no heartbeat. And I saw Rob, just his whole body, his whole shell of his body, I can still see it in my head, fell apart. Yeah. And my heart just sank. And my niece just like put her arms around both of us. And I just sobbed. And that sobbing didn't stop for a very long time. And I felt so alone. And I just felt like, had I had people that had gone through it, that just knew those emotions you're rolling through, you know, because you're kind of expected just to deal with that on your own. Don't talk about miscarriages. Don't talk about the pain. Actually, if you talk about it, you deal with it.
Helping yourself deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously you've got each other, but that's what Rob never did. He never spoke about it. We watched Marley and Me. Why would you do that to a pregnant woman? Put her through Marley and Me. Who knows that? That was a Sunday morning movie. And there's a bit in there that she has a miscarriage. And we both just bawled our eyes out. And we're pregnant at this stage. Yeah. And it was just a raw, oh my God, that's what we went through. And you've lived through it. And again, that for me, I was like, oh, I can see how it's affected you because you don't talk about it. Whereas I have. So to see him go through that emotion just watching that film was a real eye-opener to how just as well the miscarriage affects the man.
Completely.
And people forget that. And the man may not feel the pregnancy, the man may not feel the kicks or the sickness, but they are riding the emotional wave with you. They want it just as much as you.
Exactly.
So men out there, get talking.
Well, that's for a whole other podcast episode. So I'm going to have to wrap this up. So reading titles that you recommend for anyone looking to start their IVF journey or on their IVF journey, sorry.
Yeah, so I will send you them so you've got the bits on them.
I'll list them on.
The Bible is It Starts With an Egg. It's called It Starts With an Egg, and it's by Rebecca Fett. Every person I spoke to that has gone through this had recommended it to me.
Right.
It's literally A to Z of IVF.
Okay.
Diet, lifestyle, what to expect on each stage of the process. It's there in black and white. I had it on my Kindle app on my phone, so I could just keep referring to it through the process. And I read that again and again right up until the end, because there's just little bits that help you through transfer, egg collection, everything's explained in there. But it is just the preparing the egg. So, it starts with an egg. Make sure you're at the healthiest, blah, 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 all of that bit. Gives you all the information. Diet wise, Zita West, her books are amazing. She does one called the IVF diet. Again, take what you want from it. I took the recipes that I liked and didn't like. Just left the ones I didn't. And the last one is called Trying to Get Pregnant and Succeeding by Marissa Peer. It's very similar to It Starts With an Egg, but it's just got extra bits of help. It focuses on the male and the female, which I think is important. A lot of books are just focused on the female health, but actually the male
needs to it's quite important for the males to do their part as well.
Yeah, exactly. So them 3 books I lived by, but I have to say It Starts With an Egg is, if you're thinking about IVF, read it first. That's your first thing to go to. And Zita West not only does the book, she also does all prenatal vitamins and stuff that goes with it. So she's a really good one to follow. She's a fertility doctor on Instagram. So even if you don't read her books, go to her Instagram, read her posts, and she does loads of seminars online. She does courses online as well. So she's really good just to follow and get some IVF knowledge from. But there's so many different titles.
There is, but it's just finding what suits you best, isn't it? And what your lifestyle or your way of reading, what you like to read, how you like to read. Do you like an A to Z guide, or do you like more of a book style?
Yeah, but I have to say, like, reading's invaluable, but nowhere near the IVF journeys online. Just follow as many people going through it as you can. You know, just start up a private account if that's what you want, just so you can follow IVF pages and just see people in the action, in the moment, because you learn so much and you get tips along the way, and little diet tips that have worked for some people may not work for you.
I would suggest then look for hashtags. So if you're new to Instagram and you want to set up your own new account, you don't need to have your face on your profile picture.
No.
You just do a search, put hashtag IVF Journey. Is there any ones you can think of that are popular IVF Journey hashtags?
So you've got IVF Journey, IVF Warriors, IVF UK if you're UK based, Trying to Conceive, so TTC, UK as well. There's IVF Sisters. There's so many different ones.
That's it. If you click on a hashtag, it will literally show you every grid post there is with that hashtag. So that's a good place to start looking for other accounts.
And do you know what, as well, I did things like I would look up each week's scan. So I'd look up, when I was like 6 weeks pregnant, I looked up scan 6 weeks, so I could find other people that were at that point in their pregnancy.
At the same point as you.
Yeah, so like I could see, well, they're going through that. What am I going through?
Yeah.
That really helped as well, you know, and that's helped all the way up to now as well. Like, just finding people that are at the same point as you. Obviously, if you look at top, they could be 3 years ago and they've got a toddler now. But if you look at recent, you can find people that are going through the journey while you are. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, massively key to me has been Instagram. I'll be forever thankful for it.
Yeah, me too.
I love seeing like two gay dads with like a surrogate and how the surrogate goes through the journey. I've got a girl that I speak to in America. She's had donor eggs because she couldn't produce, and then she's got a surrogate as well. So, you know, for her, it's all been outside of her body. And so to watch her now going through her pregnancy through the surrogate and experiencing it as an outsider, but still being, that's her child, that's her baby, it's crazy to watch, but it's so enjoyable to watch as well. It's so rewarding to see. And again, like you say, you're rooting for me. I've been rooting for her for so long. And, you know, she was so lucky to have a donor that was a friend, and then have a surrogate that was happy to go for it for her. And just an amazing process, a magical process. I haven't gone through, but I want to know what they're going through. I want to be part of what they're going through.
Isn't science amazing?
It's incredible.
Really is. Really,
it really is.
Right, we're going to have to finish on that because
That's all right.
how long we've spoken for. I said to her, Louise, this is a 1 hour podcast maximum. Normally like 45 minutes because you lose interest after 45 minutes. We're now an hour and 20 minutes, which means another week of me editing.
It's such a vast subject. Such a big subject. That's the hard thing of it. You can't touch everyone's sort of situation within it.
I'm really grateful for you to come on and talk about it, and I hope that I haven't been too insensitive. To be honest, I'm representing the people that are, like you said, friends and family who don't know the situation. They're a bit naive and they say things they shouldn't, but that's the whole point. Is if you don't know, you don't know, and you know because you're going through it. But did you know all this before you were going through it? Probably not. No. So you may have said the same thing. So yeah, I
don't think you ever find that people are coming. It's very rare for someone to come from a bad place. Maybe someone might say it in a judgy way. I think relatively, if it's a family or friend, it's coming from a good place. They want the best for you. You know, so many people said, when you're having kids, you're going to be the best mum. And you're like, I know I am, but I can't get there. But it's not coming from a bad place. So if you are that person that said those things, don't be guilty about it, because you haven't said it from a horrible place. You've said it from a place of love. Yeah. So never feel guilty about saying
every guest I have that has something that has happened to them, or they're going through a sensitive subject, or you know, a period of life, I always ask that question, like, what can we do to make things better? What can we say to make it easier? Because we don't know. So tell us, and then we know now what to do. So thank you ever so much. Louise, are you happy for me to share your Instagram account?
Absolutely fine.
So do you want to share what you want to share on there? So your Instagram name, and you know, if anyone wants to contact you, can they contact you via that account?
I'm more than happy. You know, I've had parents of people that are going through it contact me just to ask questions about what their children are going through. You know, you don't need to just have people that are going through it. If you know someone that's going through it and you just want to ask someone else a question, go for it, because that's helping them. So I've had one mum that's followed me from the start, and now her daughter's pregnant and she's gone through it all as well, and it's an amazing thing. So please, I don't mind anyone contacting me and asking me questions. I'm open as a book can be.
So what is your handle on Instagram then?
So it's at Journey to Baby Clark, but you have to put your underscore. So it's Journey_to_baby_Clark.
I'll put it on the description. But yeah, Clark with an E as well. Right, I think that's it now. I think that's everything I need to say. So thank you so much. All the best for the little boy coming along in 9 weeks. Can't wait.
Thank you so much.
Please follow Louise. Honestly, I want to say I'm rooting for it. It's not, I'm not joking. I really am. And it's funny how someone, a stranger online, you're going, oh look, and I'm like telling Phil, and he's like, yeah, great, Lynn, because he doesn't know who you are. I'm like, oh, but it's so lovely, and I'm really rooting for you, and I'm so happy for you. But thank you so much for being my guest, and please do get in touch with Louise. If you can't find her details, then contact me, and I will put you through to her. Thanks everyone for listening, and we hope you enjoyed that episode, and it was useful to a lot of you. Thanks very much, Louise. Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.